Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Sunday segment of Voices of Empowerment with Dr. B. I'm your girl, Dr. Bianca Miss B. Lee, and I am here to journey with you through our collective readings. Okay, we are collectively reading this go round the amazing book, Caste, The Origins of Our Discontents, written by Isabel Wilkerson. So this book is confronting. This book is making us face our trauma from the past, our trauma and the parallels of today, and how to mitigate and prevent continued trauma in the future. Trauma in what area? Trauma in the area of segregation, prejudiceness, racism, categories, labels, being classified and qualified or deemed qualified or unqualified by way of your external traits, features, resemblances, skin color, texture of your hair, your blood, you know, the percentage of black blood in your DNA, all of that, what you can and cannot have, where you can and cannot live, all the categories based on um, your things that are out of your control, things that you have no say so in regards to. Okay, definitely for sure that's what this book is making us face, where we are today, why we are there today, where it began, and then how to mitigate these matters in our both now and in our future. Okay. So, but in order to do that, we got to face our truth. You know what I mean? We got to go through the process. So, we're journeying through this book. Now, we are going to be reading chapter 14. We're in part 4. There is broken down in parts. And so we're in part 4, chapter 14, and that chapter is entitled The Intrusion of Caste in Everyday Life. Okay? Now, with that being said, those of you who have the book, you can go ahead and situate yourself in your book and read along with us, or you can integrate, interject, I should say, wherever you want to interject. We are airing live on multiple platforms: Clubhouse, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, all of those places. And at any point, if you're here and you want to add something to the conversation or share an insight that you received while listening into the portion that we're reading today, feel free to do so. That's what it's there for, okay? Utilize the chat, utilize the comment section, and I will give voice to your words, okay? So that all platforms will be able to see what it is that you have to say. And you never know, you could be saying the very thing that someone else is thinking or feeling, or asking the question that they want to ask. So don't hold back. Feel free. This is a shared space for us to come together and to really, 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 you know, break this down and say how we feel about it. I'm going to be doing that periodically throughout the reading as well, so that you all can hear my thoughts on it. And I'm just not just robotic and reading the book, okay? Alrighty, here we go. Chapter 14. This is The Intrusion of Caste in Everyday Life. A father and his young son were out at a restaurant in Oakland on one of their precious days together, now that the mother and father had separated. The little boy ordered what he thought he wanted, but when the food came, he said he just wanted to drink his juice. His father had been worried about the effect of the disruption in the family might be having on his son and wanted to keep the same stability and order in his little boy's life. He wanted to hold to the same standards that they always had, of showing gratitude for the blessing of food and eating what the universe had seen fit to put before you, of keeping to the manners they had established when they were all together. Mainly, he wanted his son to get his nourishment, didn't want to return him to his mother hungry, as he surely would be if he filled his little stomach with sweet juice and snacks. He remembered the times he'd filled up on sweets and had no space left for mealtime. What he couldn't tell his son at the moment, but would have to tell him later when he was big enough to understand, was that he would have to grow up respecting authority. One day, he would no longer be an adorable little toddler, but would be a black teenager or a grown man, and respecting authority, following the rules, could mean his very life. This was his only child, the most precious human in the world to him. The boy was so sweet faced, innocent, and free. How could he tell him that the world, his country, saw him as a threat? When exactly is the best time to break a child's heart? Should a parent clip them a little at a time, spread it out to spare them the pain of a single blow? Should a parent sit them down and get it over with? You could argue that the sooner a child knows, the safer, more prepared he will be. Maybe a parent should hold off as long as he can, give his child the longest possible chance to be a child. He'll have the rest of his life, decades, to live with reality, adjust himself to the truth. Maybe the most loving thing to do is to wait. Wait until something happens. Somebody drops the N word on him at the playground, or a teacher checks him for running down the hall, but not his white schoolmates. And he knows it's wrong and wants to know why. Back in 2014, Tamir Rice was 12 when officers shot him within seconds of their arrival as he stood in a Cleveland park playing with a pellet gun. Despite the fact that Ohio was an open carry state, and it is a common occurrence for boys to have toy guns, an all American thing to do. Tamir Rice happened to be the same age as the fictional Jim when the beloved fictional father Atticus Finch gave him an air rifle in To Kill a Mockingbird, the very scene from which the title comes. Lots of American boys play with guns, are given guns, and aren't killed for it. Tamir Rice died before he could ask why. This father in Oakland didn't believe in guns, and that wasn't the issue anyway. The issue was his son's life and what the father could do to protect it. The challenge for a parent in the subordinate caste is to calculate the precise and optimal moment to break the truth to a child before the caste system does it for him, to figure out how to stretch their innocence until the last possible moment before it is too late. Another father, an immigrant from West Africa, had to find a way to push past his sorrow to break the news to his little boy that he could no longer be a child, that he could not jump and dart and shriek like other children. He would have to tell his son that it was too dangerous. They were in America now. The father in Oakland was a respected professor at a local college. In fact, African American history was his field. He would figure it out when the time came. That moment was weighing on him, but that day was not today. The father looked back at his son and told him he needed to go ahead and eat his vegetables first, like Daddy said, and then he could drink his juice. The little boy scrunched his face and shook his head and began to cry. A woman at a nearby booth had been listening to their exchange. She was an older, grayish blonde woman from the dominant caste. She scooted from her booth and walked over to the table where the father and son were sitting. The father could see the shadow of her form moving toward them. The woman stopped and stood over them. She leaned toward the little boy and told him, "You drink your juice if you want to. It's okay to drink your juice." The woman did not address or acknowledge the father. She focused her attention on the little boy as she stood there. The father was beside himself. A perfect stranger had gotten up, disregarded a parent, and told a child to disobey the parent right in the parent's face. The woman had crossed so many boundaries it was hard to process. Something had made her feel entitled enough to enter into the private space of people she did not know and veto a father's decision regarding his own son. This was Oakland, bright blue home of Huey and Tupac, where such phrases as gender nonconformity and microaggressions are part of everyday language. The woman would not have gotten up if she didn't perceive she had a right to. Has she done this to other parents? Would she have breezed past a white father, ignored him to tell his son to do precisely what the father had just told him not to? The father held up his hand like a traffic officer signaling a car to stop. "Ma'am, you need to go sit down," the father said. "Don't come to my table. I don't know you." The woman looked stunned at the rejection, but turned around and went back to her booth. The father had a hard time enjoying his own food after that. He will remember this moment long afterward. The United States has a centuries old history of people in the upper caste controlling and overriding the rightful role of lower caste parents and their children, the most extreme of which was selling off children from their parents, even infants who had yet to be weaned from their mothers, as with fillies or pups rather than human beings. One of them, remarked an enslaver, was worth $200 the moment it drew breath. This routine facet of slavery prevailed in our country for a quarter millennium. Children and parents denied the most elemental of human bonds. Even when children were permitted to remain with their parents, caste protocols undermined their authority and punished them if they tried to protect their own children. A mother in Louisiana was administered 25 lashings for countermanding an order given her son by the white mistress who owned them. Several of the most gruesome whippings and tortures were administered on enslaved men who intervened in cases of violence against their wives or children at the hands of an enslaver or an overseer. Thus, enslaved parents could offer their children little shelter or security from the frightening creatures that lorded over them, historian Kenneth M. Stamp wrote. Nor could they protect themselves. But if the upper caste did not see the evil in this, the lowest caste children could see it. Once, when an overseer tied a woman up and whipped her in front of her children, the frightened children pelted the overseer with stones, Stamp wrote. One of them ran up and bit him in the leg as they cried for him to let her go. The caste system may have treated them as cattle or machinery, but the children responded instantly as the human beings the dominant caste refused to see. It was only in the mid 20th century, with the protections arising from the civil rights era, that Black parents had legal and political recourse to shield their children from abuse or to call into account harm done to their children at the hands of the state. The essential contours of the hierarchy remained intact, the modes of expression having mutated with the times. Modern day caste protocols are less often about overt attacks or conscious hostility and can be dispiritingly hard to fight. They are like the wind, powerful enough to knock you down, but invisible as they go about their work. They are sustained by the muscle memory of relative rank and the expectations of how one interacts with others based on their place in the hierarchy. It's a form of status hypervigilance, the entitlement of the dominant caste to step in and assert itself wherever it chooses, to monitor or dismiss those deemed beneath them as they see fit. It is not about luxury cars and watches, country clubs and private banks, but knowing without thinking that you are one up from another based on rules not set down in paper, but reinforced in most every commercial, television show, or billboard, from boardrooms to newsrooms to gated subdivisions to who gets killed first in the first half of a movie. This is the blindsiding banality of caste. Every day across America, wherever two or more are gathered, caste can infect the most ordinary of interchanges, catching us off guard, disrupting and confusing, and potentially causing mayhem for anyone in the hierarchy. These are scenes of caste in action. The doorbell rang at the home of an accountant from the dominant caste in a wealthy suburb of a Midwestern city. The accountant and his family had only recently moved into the neighborhood. Through the glass side lights of his front door, he could see a woman, an African American woman, there on his landing. He knew exactly what this meant. The dry cleaner in town offered its customers pick up and drop off, so he went to get the clothes that needed cleaning and then opened the door to hand the armload of tousled clothes to the woman waiting out front. The woman stepped back. "Oh, I'm not the dry cleaner," the woman said. "I'm your next door neighbor. I came over to introduce myself and welcome you to the neighborhood." The woman was the fashionable wife of a prominent cardiologist, exceedingly upper class, yet labeled subordinate caste on site, still to someone who had just moved next door to her. They would both have to recover from that one. A college professor in Chicago had just returned from a bike ride and picked up his mail in the lobby of his apartment building off Michigan Avenue. He was African American, in his 30s, patrician of face, still in his helmet and cycling gear. He stepped onto the elevator en route to his floor, and barely noticing the other man on the elevator with him, began going through his mail. He saw something of interest and unsealed one of his envelopes. The other man was horrified. You're supposed to be delivering the mail, not opening it. This seemed to have come out of nowhere, and the college professor looked up and saw that the other man was white. He didn't fully register the accusation, was just going about his day, and gave an honest reply. Oh, I want to see what's inside, the professor said. The other man looked even more stricken now, shaking his head in disgust, mistakenly believing he was witnessing a crime in progress. The professor got off of his elevator, his floor, and only later did it occur to him that he had been taken for a delivery boy in his own building, an assumption so ludicrous he hadn't bothered to consider it in the moment, which left the dominant caste man convinced that he had just seen a black messenger brazenly break open an actual resident's mail in full view of another resident. This is the self-perpetuating mischief of caste. The phone kept ringing at the civil engineer's desk. He had deadlines to meet and projects bearing down on him. But over and over, the phone broke his concentration and wasted his limited time. The engineer was from the dominant caste, and so too was the man pestering him. On the face of it, the intrusion would seem to have nothing to do with caste. Here was a white contractor calling a white engineer for answers about a project underway. The engineer was a supervisor with a general idea of the project, but the project was not his. It belonged to another engineer on the team, as the contractor well knew, one who happened to be African American and a woman. The white contractor had been told to go to her with any questions he had, but the contractor had ignored her, ignored protocol, and had gone to the dominant caste engineer instead. The white engineer answered the contractor's questions at first to be polite and move things along, but the phone kept ringing, and it was disrupting his own work, and it was hindering the project in question. The black engineer could hear this unfold in front of her from her cubicle next to the white engineer's. From her desk, she could hear it every time his phone rang, while hers sat mute and silent. She could hear the white engineer's impatient replies to questions that both of them knew should have come to her. The white engineer grew agitated with disbelief. When the contractor called the next time, the white engineer let him have it. I indicated to you from the beginning that you need to talk to D about day-to-day matters, the white engineer said. If you have a problem with that, we'll have to find another contractor for the job. The minute the white engineer hung up, the black engineer's phone rang. On an ordinary workday, the caste system had pulled a dominant caste man into its undertow. It had drained him of time and disrupted the operation. He found himself in an unexpected fight against an invisible foe, forced to take a stand for his colleague and against, perhaps unbeknownst to him on a conscious level, the caste system itself. If there is anything that distinguishes caste, however, it is first, the policing of roles expected of people based on what they look like, and second, the monitoring of boundaries. The disregard for the boundaries of subordinate caste are the passionate construction of them by those in the dominant caste to keep the hierarchy in place. After the 2016 election, the surveillance of Black citizens by white strangers became so common a feature of American life that these episodes have inspired memes of their own, videos gone viral, followed by apologies from management or an announcement of company-wide diversity trainings. People in the dominant caste have been caught on video inserting themselves into the everyday lives of Black people they do not know and calling the police on them as they wait for a friend at a Starbucks in Philadelphia or try to enter their own condo building in St. Louis. It is a distant echo of an earlier time when anyone in the dominant caste was deputized, obligated even to apprehend any Black person during the era of slavery. With the resurgence of caste after the 2016 election, people in the dominant caste have been recorded calling the police on ordinary Black citizens under a wide range of ordinary circumstances, with videos cropping up almost daily at one time. In New Haven, Connecticut, a woman called campus police on a graduate student at Yale University who had fallen asleep while studying in the common area of her dormitory. Officers demanded her identification even after she unlocked the door to her dorm room. You're in a Yale building, an officer said. We need to make sure that you belong here. In Milwaukee, a woman called the police on a corrections officer whose key fob had malfunctioned as he tried to open his own car door. A man called the police on a software engineer who was waiting for a friend outside a condo building in San Francisco. As a white man briefed the authorities from his cell phone, the man's little boy, uncomfortable with his father's actions, begged him to hang up and let it go. A woman walking her dog stood and blocked a marketing consultant from getting into his own condo building in St. Louis. She demanded that he show proof that he lived there before she would step aside. When he walked past her, she followed him into the elevator and onto his floor to see if he in fact lived there. In the video that the man took as a precaution, she can be seen tracking him all the way to his apartment, checking whether he was a resident even after he unlocked his door to go inside. And a woman began to stalk a Black man in Georgia when she saw him out with two white children. From her car, the woman trailed Corey Lewis, their babysitter, as he drove from a Walmart to a gas station and to his home after he did not permit the woman, a complete stranger, to talk with the children alone to see if they were all right. Lewis, a youth pastor who runs an after-school program, started recording the situation on his cell phone. In it, the children can be seen calm and unfazed, buckled in their seatbelts in the back of his car. His voice is strained in disbelief. This lady is following me, he says in the video, all because I got two kids in the back seat that do not look like me. The woman called 911 and asked if she could keep following him. She continued to trail him even though she was told not to. By the time Lewis got home, a patrol car had pulled up behind him, an officer heading towards him. Jesus have mercy. What is wrong with this country? A woman outside of the camera frame cried. The officer told the children, a 6-year-old boy and a 10-year-old girl, to step out of the car, and Lewis's voice grew tense. The outcome of this police encounter and his very safety depended on what those children would say. And he asked them to please tell the officer who he was. Please, he said to them. Satisfied that Lewis was in fact their babysitter and that the children were okay, the officer, just to be safe, called the parents, who were out at dinner. It just knocked us out of our chair, the children's father, David Parker, told the New York Times. Afterward, a reporter asked one of the children, 10-year-old Addison, what she would tell the woman who followed them that day. Her father told the Times her response. I would just ask her to next time try to see us as 3 people rather than 3 skin colors, because we might have been Mr. Lewis's adopted children. And that is so very true. These intrusions of caste would seem to harm the targets more than anyone. Given the widely publicized attacks and shootings of Black citizens at the hands of police, most Americans know by now that calling the police on a Black person can carry life and death consequences. Frivolous calls squander public resources and distract police from actual serious crime to the detriment of us all. Beyond that, when any citizen is disrupted in the midst of everyday life and responsibilities, it is in fact a societal disruption, a tear in the daily workings of human interaction. These people are part of the American economy, and when they are interrupted, school and business and institutions suffer an invisible loss in output as their workers get blindsided from their tasks. These intrusions serve to reinforce caste by derailing lower caste people, subverting their work lives in an already competitive society, imposing additional burdens not borne by their dominant caste colleagues as they go about their work, as occurred to me in Michigan some years ago. I could hear footsteps behind me, but paid little attention. This was an airport, and there were footfalls and roller bags all over. I had just landed in Detroit on an early morning flight from Chicago to interviews I needed to conduct as a national correspondent for the New York Times. I'd already lost an hour going from Central to Eastern time, and I was thinking of all I had to do in the space of the next 8 hours. If the first interview was at 10:30, and if it took me 30 minutes to get downtown, maybe more since this was rush hour, I needed to get straight to the rental car to make this work. Any delays in the day's interviews, and I might not make the flight back to Chicago that evening. I thought to myself that I'd worry about that later and just get to the Avis bus as soon as I could. I thought about how it always seems that the shuttle you're looking for is the one that has just pulled off. And no matter what company you've booked, the one you needed is always the last to show up. I was walking fast because I always walk fast, and I was heading to the gliding glass doors in the direction of the shuttle stop when I heard them. The footsteps were closer and faster, heading toward me. Why would anybody be heading toward me? It was a man and a woman. It happened to be a white man and a white woman, the woman's light brown hair swinging just above her shoulders as she ran. They had a parka and a corduroy look about them, and both were out of breath as they reached me. "We need to talk to you," they said, walking alongside me. I could see the shuttle bus lane through the sliding doors and buses pulling off, and was not fully registering whatever it was they were saying. "Why are you in Detroit? What are you here for?" "I'm on business. I'm here for work." I was thinking that I did not have time for whatever travel survey they were conducting, and now I could see that Avis was on schedule. The shuttle bus was pulling to the curb. People were queuing on to board. "I have to catch my shuttle bus," I told them as I walked out of the terminal doors. "Where are you coming from?" they asked, one on each side of me now. "I just flew in from Chicago," I said, nearing the clot of people in suits and overcoats boarding the shuttle bus. Is that where you live?" "Why are you asking me this? I need to get on the bus." "We need to know if you live in Chicago and what you're doing in Detroit." The last of passengers were climbing on board. The doors of the bus were wide open. The driver was looking down at me and at them. The man and woman stood there holding up the bus, holding up the passengers, holding up me. "What is this for?" "We're DEA. We need to know where you live, how long you will be in Detroit, and exactly what you're doing here." This was too preposterous to comprehend. The Drug Enforcement Administration? Why in the world were they stopping me out of all the travelers at the airport? This was a day trip, so I didn't have luggage, like a lot of business travelers between cities close to each other. I was in a suit like everyone else, coach bag slung over my shoulder, covering the Midwest as I was at the time. I used to tell people that I catch planes like other people catch the subway. Airports were a second home to me. How could they not see that I was like every other business traveler boarding the shuttle? The people on the bus were checking their watches and glaring down at me through the windows as I stood at the steps. The driver shifted in his seat, and I can hear the shake of the engine, the snort of the brakes, transmission about to shift, the driver's impatient hand on the pull door. I blurted out what they wanted to know so they would leave me alone. "I live in Chicago. I'm here for a day. I'm a reporter for the New York Times. I need to get on this bus." "We will allow you to board. We will have to ride with you." I was shaken now as I climbed onto the shuttle, its air thick with the scorn of fellow travelers. I looked for an empty seat, people pulling away as I sat down. This whole exchange had delayed everyone on the bus. And for all that anyone could see, it was because of a woman, a Black woman who probably didn't even belong with real business travelers and might be a criminal to boot. The two agents took seats directly in front of me, staring and assessing, their eyes never leaving me. Twitter did not exist, and there were no cameras on cell phones to go into video mode. The bus was filled with business people, or I should say white business people. I was the only African American on the bus and one of the few women, and there were two agents surveilling me and my every move. The other passengers glared at me and at the two agents and back again at me. I was in utter disbelief, too shocked even to register fear. It was a psychic assault to sit there, accused and condemned, not just by the agents, but by everyone on the bus who looked with contempt and disdain, seeing me as not like them, when I was exactly like them. A frequent flyer on business like everyone else on the bus, early on a weekday morning, having just flown into a major American city and needing to focus on the work that I, like them, was there to do. I wanted to proclaim my innocence of whatever it was that all of them were thinking. When you are raised middle class and born to a subordinate caste in general, and African American in particular, you are keenly aware of the burden you carry, and you know that working twice as hard is a given. But more important, you know there will be no latitude for a misstep. So you must try to be virtually perfect at all times, merely to tread water. You live with a double standard, even though you do not like it. You know growing up that you cannot get away with the things that your white friends might skate by with, adolescent pranks or shoplifting on dare or cursing out a teacher. You knew better, even if you were so inclined, which I wasn't and never have been. I needed to regain my composure and clear myself of the accusation of their presence. They hadn't believed I was a reporter, so I decided to be conspicuously what I was. I fished my pen and notebook out of my bag. I figured nobody could stop me from taking notes. It was a natural and protective reflex for me, like breathing. I had a captive audience bearing witness to my performance of emergency journalism. In silence, I looked across at the agents and with my squeaking right hand made notes of what they were wearing, what they looked like, how they were looking at me. They hadn't expected this, and they turned to look out of a window and down at the floor. It was a long ride to the car rental lot. Now they felt the sting of inspection as I jotted down everything I could about them. And in that moment, I took back some fraction of the power they had taken from me, proved who and what I was to anyone watching, or at least that was how it felt to me at the time. Soon the bus pulled into Avis lot, and I took a deep breath. They had ridden all the way from the airport, trailing me, and I had no idea what the next step would be. When the bus came to a stop, I stood up like the other passengers. The agents looked up from their seats. Have a nice day, they said, and it was over just like that. Except it wasn't. I somehow made it to the rental counter and somehow got the keys to a car, but I don't remember any of it. What I recall is getting turned around in a parking lot that I had been to dozens of times, going in circles, not able to get out, not registering the signs to the exit, not seeing how to get to Interstate 94 when I knew full well how to get to I-94 after all the times I'd driven it. Now in a car, away from the agents, I was beginning to comprehend the seriousness of that encounter, only now able to admit my terror. The other business travelers were likely well on their way to their appointments, perhaps annoyed at the delay, but able to make preparations in their heads for their meetings, maybe get a coffee on the way. This was the thievery of caste, stealing the time and psychic resources of the marginalized, draining energy in an already upheaval and uphill competition. They were not like me, frozen and disoriented, trying to make sense of a public violation that seemed all the more menacing now that I could see it in full. The quiet mundanity of that terror has never left me, the scars outliving the cut. We were told over and over again in our society not to judge a book by its cover, not to assume what is inside before we had had a chance to read it. Yet humans size up and make assumptions about other humans based upon what they look like many times a day. We prejudge complicated breathing beings in ways we are told never to judge inanimate objects. Mm, it happens all the time. It happens all the time. All the time. My goodness. And it's so hurtful. It's so upsetting. It's a lot. It's a lot to just be here in this plane in this life, in this day, in this zeitgeist, right? In this time. And you're in the known subordinate caste, i.e., brown and black people. Um, and to be seen as second class, to be seen as beneath, belittled, um, immediate criminals, immediate criminals. It's very heartbreaking. It's draining, as Isabel Wilkerson stated in the book. It's very draining, very draining. But although this is a present day reality, I'm not gonna ever dismiss it as if it doesn't exist, because it does. But in addition to that, because two things can be true at the same time, right? In addition to the very presence of that is also light, right? And it may be draining. It may be draining, and we do have to go above and beyond our call of duty. But one thing I am very proud of, and that is being a brown woman. I am honored to be a brown woman. I'm honored to come from brown people, red and brown people, because I'm both from African descendants and Native American descendants. So I am honored and I'm proud of being to be a part of both, claiming both, honoring the ancestors that came before me. But I also know that the light that I bring, I trust in it fully. I do. I trust in it fully, and I trust that in any circumstance like this or others, you know, I trust that in that moment, my light will shine bright enough to turn the hands of or turn the thoughts of anybody who is trying to put me in a box or trying to categorize me in any way. I do trust my light. I trust my light. I refuse to move around in fear because of what has occurred and what may still be occurring, is still occurring in this time. I refuse to allow that to cripple me. I refuse to allow it to determine how I'm going to move, how I'm going to show up, the confidence that I display. I refuse. I refuse to allow it to muzzle my mouth because I have something to say. I refuse. I refuse. And I trust fully in the light that is me, inside of me. Trust fully. I trust fully in the backing that I have, over 4,000 ancestors behind me. Now, trust and believe some of your ancestors don't like you, and they didn't like the people that, that they saw in their lifetime. They didn't like them either. Your ancestors that they had something to do with, right? But I absolutely solely trust, soul, SOUL, solely trust my ancestors that are for me, that love me down and would cover me from the very crown of my head to the sole of my feet in the spirit realm. You understand? I trust that wholly. So in situations like, I don't find myself in a lot of those situations like that. I'm grateful, because woe unto them. Woe unto them that would ever try me. Okay? Do you hear me? Hey, Miss Celeste. Yes, Miss Celeste on Facebook said, greetings, Dr. B. And yes, okay. Do you hear me? Greetings to you, my love. Listen, it's deep out here. I'm grateful. Don't get me wrong. I've had situations just slight, you know, but I promise you, the only time that someone who presumes dominance over you feel that they have a leg up on you is if you kind of back down and cower into, yeah, I'm not that. I am so grateful that I was born in this day and age, because I'm not going to lie. If I was born in the days of my elders with this same personality, with this same rebellion, if you will, with the same assertiveness, the same fire, I would not have lasted long. I'm gonna tell you now. They would have took me up out of here. Okay, because I definitely would have been one of those. I would have been the Harriet Tubman type. If I was born in those times with this same personality, the same every placement that I have in me, everything still intact back then. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, for sure. hmm I make a joke all all the time where I say my parents, my actual mother and father in this life, is still trying to figure out how to raise me. Okay, because yeah, I'm not one that can be. I'm not subservient. I don't like that. I've always known. I probably didn't know how to voice that I have a voice, but I've always known I did. I've always known that I have power. I've always known that I cannot be boxed in. I've always known this. I've always known what I wanted to do. I've always known how I wanted to be. I've always known it from a child. I've always known it. I've always known it. And I always shot for it. I always did it. Everything that I envisioned for myself, I always reached it. Always. I never cared about how long it would take me. I never even fathomed the possible hindrances. I don't see hindrance. Hear me when I say that. I do not see hindrance. I see what I see. And then I say what I see until I see with my eyes what I said. Follow me. I don't see hindrance. I say what I see until I see with my eyes what I said. Okay? I don't care about what pops up. That's not my concern. How I'm going to get a thing done is not my concern. That's not my job. The what is being done? Focus on that. Stay focused on that. Set your intentions on that. Getting the job done. I don't listen. One thing about the creator knew that we were being born in this time with this foolishness that we are dealing with. Yeah, all of it. It was already set. It was already done. And we're living, you know, we're living in times where, uh, you know, we're living amongst the choices of everybody else. Mr. Les on Facebook says, I'm picking up what you're putting down. Yes, totally understand. Absolutely. We're living right now amongst a gambit of choices. Like every day, right? Every day you are choosing. Every moment of every day you choose. And in your choosing, you're creating, cultivating your life and your experience. So with your choice now, whatever choice you make now would determine what you experience next. Okay. So your choices are powerful. You're creating, literally creating yourself, creating your experiences, creating everything by way of your choice. But also keep in mind, in you creating your experiences, in your choices, guess what? You're also co-mingling and yeah. You're co-mingling in other people's choices, right? Yeah. We are all swimming around in each other's choices. I'm sitting on a chair because I'm sitting on a chair that is a result of somebody's choice to create a chair. right? I'm sitting at a desk on a computer that is the result of somebody's choice to create the computer that they envisioned. So we're all enjoying or exposed to the choices of not just your own, but everybody else's. So if we're just all right now surrounded by choice, literally choice is in the air, right? Then if you're experiencing the ramifications of a negative choice, a choice of someone in the dominant caste, showing prejudice and choosing to be prejudiced, choosing to be racist, choosing to, categorize you, choosing to, all of that stuff. If you're experiencing that, then in that choice, you can counter their choice, not a negative choice, with your positive choice, with your choice of light, with your choice of confidence, with your choice of, standing firm on who you are. Mm-hmm. And watch how spiritually those roles reverse, those roles turn, that energy that once tried to get you, and make you subservient to it, will back down. It's all in how we connect with self. Again, I don't see hindrance, I see my light. And I know that my light can surpass any form of hindrance. In fact, my light doesn't care. Light moves through things, it's not blocked by. Light moves through things. No matter what tries to block light, it cannot be blocked. It will simply pass through you, regardless of what you're trying to do. Right? We have to understand that you are that light. It's just like water. Water is not stopped just because there's something there. No, it reroutes. It finds another way around or through. Same. Air does the same thing. Air does the same thing. We need to be like that in any circumstance. Understanding. See, the caste system, all of that, dominant caste, subordinate caste, all of that is societal constructs. It has nothing to do with what the truth of the matter is. Those are societal facts. They're not truths. Truth is, you are everything that you need to protect and cover you now. You are that already now. That is the truth. The thing is, though, you have to know it. You have to know it. You have to be aware of it. You have to connect with it. You have to align with it. And you have to be it. And when you are it, those things, although present, they no longer block. They do not bother. They do not hinder. They no longer shut you down. Yeah. Knowing who you are matters. Knowing who you are matters. Knowing who you are matters. Because when you know who you are and someone tries to treat you or call you something different other than what you are, you can respond accordingly, not react. Respond. There's two different things. You can respond accordingly. Knowing who you are helps a lot. Okay? That helps a lot, greatly. knowing who you are, knowing that you are not subordinate, you are not the lower caste, you are not at all. You don't have to subscribe, to that type of rhetoric. Okay. Miss Celeste on Facebook says yes, and continue to study yourself as one grows. Continue to, because as you evolve, continuing to live in this iteration, you will evolve moment by moment, step by step, choice by choice. You are evolving, you're expanding. And the more you evolve, you have to get to know that version of you. You know what I'm saying? You have to continue to get to know that new version of you. Right? That's the beautiful part about this evolution, this thing we call life. You know? And the more and more and more, I'm telling you, we're in this shared space during this time for a reason. Clearly, there's something in you that's supposed to add to the dynamic that is us here in this now. That's why you're here. That's why you're here. So identify what that thing is. Identify how are you to shine your light bright during this time where these things are very present. These things are very present. Now, you may not be set to be Frederick Douglass of your time or Harriet Tubman of your time or whatever the case. Maybe you are the next door neighbor that greets the neighbors to the neighborhood. That's also impactful, because it can be overwhelming moving to a new neighborhood and not knowing anybody. And you are a warm welcome that they didn't even realize they needed. That's impact. That's light. Shining light, igniting others' light. So even in your small area, you can exude light and make an impact, a big, huge impact that outshines and out loud, says out loud. It screams louder rather than these prejudices and the energies that are out here. These energies they're strong, they're big. I'll say that. They're big because they have a louder voice because we've allowed it, right? But they're not undefeatable. You know what I'm saying? Mr. Les on Facebook says this is so. And be okay with sharing your life, big or small. They all weigh the same for you as a person. Correct. I'm telling you, I remember some of the smallest gestures that people have done, and they were so impactful and in the perfect timing. I still remember, they are etched in my mind, ingrained in my subconscious, never to be erased. That's how impactful they are. Something that they probably deemed so little was huge, monumental for me. Huge. And the same for you. Miss Celeste says, mine's too. Yes. You know what I mean? Those things you can never belittle, you can never displace, you can never, ever discount. Those things are very serious. Keep doing that. And the seemingly bigness of this foolishness, this divide, this segregation, this nothingness, because we read in the last chapter on Tuesday that real leaders don't have to do all of that loud stuff, making spectacles and all of that stuff. No, a real alpha don't have to do all of that. A real alpha you see in a group, um, people willingly gravitate to them. They willingly listen to them and look up to them. They willingly do it, not forcibly, not coerced, not paid to do it. You know, people willingly gravitate towards and entrust their lives with a true leader. A true leader. And a true leader knows how to pour into the people that they lead. They know how to serve the people that they lead, because they know that being in a leadership position, that's 100% why you're leading the people you're leading. You are the leader because it's your job to identify the needs of the people that you're leading, provide them with the needs so that they can do their part even more efficiently. Ultimately, everybody wins. But some leaders that we are looking at today, the fact that they just have the role, that's good enough for them. And they let that go to their heads. I did it back in 2020. I closed out a conference. It was a 24 hours of entrepreneurship. And I closed out a conference. Les Brown opened it. I closed it that night. And I spoke about the 5 levels of leadership, where I broke that down. Miss Celeste has just experienced it last night by being invited to a private cacao ceremony. Okay. I'm grateful for the special people seeing my light to aid in continuing my evolution on this life journey. If you just be, others will see the light and guide you to great offerings. That is very, very true. That is very, very true. And congratulations. That's beautiful. Cacao ceremony. A cacao ceremony. That sounds interesting. Never heard of it, but it sounds interesting. Wow. When other people see your light, it's definitely acknowledged. I'm going to tell you 2 ways it will be acknowledged. Number one, outwardly saying, I love your energy. I love your spirit. I love your vibe. I love, 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 love. It'll be appreciated. But then the second way that it will be acknowledged, your light will be acknowledged, is by others' disdain of you. Okay. They don't even realize they're acknowledging your lights and how you shine bright because of their disgust. In fact, that's the reason they are disgusted, because your light shines bright, and they hate how others love you. That is definitely an acknowledgement, if you will. Okay, for sure. Yeah, man. Okay, so let's say it's a spiritual ritual that opened the heart through the natural seed from chocolate. I love that. I know that's right now. I love that so very much. Very good. Mm-hmm. It's only picked when given permission. I love that. I love that. I did a conversation on asking nature for consent. Asking all things created for consent, which we don't do enough of. You know what I'm saying? Even with flowers, we don't do enough of asking. Asking, may I have you? May I pick you? Because listen, they grow for us, okay? They don't grow for themselves, you know? Miss Celeste said, oh, I love it. Yes. Asking all things creation, may I take part in you? May I enjoy you? May I pluck you? May I, asking for consent. Asking for consent before just robbing them or taking it away, because everything created is living. It's living. It deserves to be acknowledged. Okay? Everything created by the Creator is a living thing. It deserves to be acknowledged. Absolutely. And you'd be surprised. They are 100% willing. Actually, they're honored to. That's what they're growing here for us. But when they willingly allow you to have them, and then you consume them, then they are literally giving you the gift that they have to offer you willfully. Yeah. Yeah. Talk to those things. Talk to them. Speak life into you as you consume them. Set your intentions to do so. You know what I'm saying? It's a beautiful thing. We are interconnected beings. Okay. So even inside of your body, they are still moving and doing what they're supposed to do for you. I love that. Very good. I love that a lot. All right. Listen, you also on Tuesday, we will be going into our next chapter, chapter 15. We're making our way through. It's a 404-page book. We're just on page 196. So we got a ways to go, but it's okay. It's okay. Chapter 15 is entitled The Urgent Necessity of a Bottom Rung. The Urgent Necessity of a Bottom Rung. Okay. So we will be reading through that on Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Listen, if you all do not have the book, there is no excuse. You should have this book because I made it available for you. I made it available. Miss Celeste says, thanks for sharing yourself with us. Can you send it to me, please? Absolutely. All right. You can inbox me or email me, Miss Celeste, your email address and or from your email address that you would like me to send it to. You can email me at info@biancamissblee.com. Info@biancamissblee.com. Now listen, every publication that we read through, it is free to you. Okay? It is free to you. I bought it already. You don't need to buy it. Continue to buy it. Okay? We are doing this together. But I will say this. Yes, we are a 501c3 nonprofit. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, you say, Miss Celeste said, we'll do good. Yes, we take donations. They are welcome for sure, but they are not required for you to get your reading material, okay? We do welcome donations. Yes, we do. And if you want to know more, then I can tell you exactly where you can send a donation as well. Again, nonprofit organization, and you can use this and write this off on your taxes. Isn't that amazing? Yes. Okay. So if you would like this book, I think everyone should have this book. Even if you don't read it along with us, you can read it. I urge you to read it for yourself, with yourself, by yourself, for yourself. Okay. Because in order for us to understand where we're going, we have to first identify where we came from and where we currently are. You know, if you like this book, you're going to get a kick out of the very next one that we're going to read. Okay. Let me pull it up right now. So we're staying in this pocket right here. We're gonna stay in this pocket right here. It is called The Black AF History, the Unwhitewashed Story of America. Okay. Oh yes. Oh yes. Listen here. Again, any book that we read together is always free to you, okay? All right. So send me your email. Send me the email that you would like for me to send you your book. You can email me. You can inbox me. Whatever you want to do, you can do that. But be sure to do it, okay? Also, you can visit my website, you all, if you have not done so. Visit the website. Take advantage of these resources available, the materials, merch, the books, the services, counseling sessions. I do Reiki. I do chakra opening and removal of blockages and things like that. I do intimacy coaching and therapy. I do couples therapy. I do all of the things, okay? So be sure to utilize those services as well. My August calendar, I actually have already started booking for August, and it is filling up pretty fast. So if you want to get on the books, please do so. Please do so. Okay. Follow me on social media, you all, on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, all of the things. It's all under the same name, Dr. Bianca Ms. B. Lee. Ms. B is MZBEE. Okay. Alrighty, you all, listen. This has been amazing. This has been absolutely amazing, as per usual. You all be sure to come back and join us on Tuesday night, right here, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I love you. I mean it. There is absolutely positively nothing you can do about it. Don't you even try it. We'll see you back here Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Voices of Empowerment with Dr. V. Peace.